What up, y'all? I am back for another video. Today, I am listing my favorite horror movies of 2023. And then Friday, so a few days from now, I'll be doing my worst movies of the year list. And then Sunday, New Year's Eve, we'll be doing my favorite movies of the year. So, but this one I figured do a horror one like I did last year because I had fun doing that last year. Because I feel like this year, horror wise, has been pretty good. Yeah. In terms of because I saw this post a few months ago. I mentioned this there are some people who are trying to say horror has not been good this year. I'm like, I would even say last year and this year horror's been great. Yeah, IP wise, in terms of the big licensed ones, yeah, they've kind of all sucked. Obviously, we had Halloween Ends last year, and then Scream 5. And then even this year, aside from Evil Dead Rise, Scream 6 was, I guess I'll say okay, but the fucking final act kills the movie for me. But, Evil Dead Rise, which is, I'll admit, is on this list, is, the only one, because you had that shitty Pet Cemetery prequel no one asked for, or fucking Omen prequel. So you have a bunch of necessary shit. But aside from that, in terms of I guess you can say original or not based off an IP horror, there's been some pretty good ones. I mean, so I figured I came up with 10. Why not do it? And horror is, my opinion, is easily on the, especially horror that's not like I said, based off of an IP. There's been a lot of good ones, so figure we'll go into it. We'll talk about that. Tomorrow I'll be reviewing X-Men Apocalypse, so I'll be doing that tomorrow. So we're doing a review, and then Friday, my list, and then Saturday I'll be doing that Scream video, and then that's about it until Sunday, where I do my best movies of 2023. So, anyway, let's get into the list. We can start with my number 10. My number 10 is Insidious: The Red Door, or as I call it, the real Insidious 3. This is one that, basically is right after Conjuring 2, jump time, it's about Dalton going to college, he's a bit older, and obviously the demons are still kind of fucking with him. And I will say this one is not as strong as the first two, for sure, and I do think they did lean a little too much with the family drama, but I think aside from that, I think there's still some really good scares. The scene where Josh, Patrick Wilson's character from the first view, that scene when he's in the cancer thing, checking his he's in some kind of machine at the hospital, and that then he sees something in there while he's in there, and something pops out. I thought that was a good scene. There's some genuinely decent scares. I thought the Red Demon was an interesting design. Not as strong as the first one, I'm going to say it again, but I do think it's a decent, if you watch 1, 2, and then this one, even though technically it's Insidious 5, but if we're going to be real, it's basically Insidious 3, because it picks up, with the same characters. The other ones are, a prequel and I guess, a spinoff. They're not really necessarily actually the real Insidious 3. So I figured put this on the list, because I think there were some decent horror moments in it. And if you watch this one along with the other two, it works as a kind of an ending. Like I said, it's not the best. That's why I put it at number 10. But and I thought the scene where Dalton's in that girl's dream or whatever that he was in the world while it's not in a dream, but like a astral projection kind of thing. He did, and I'll admit that was cool. Like when he was going through the room while he's so I think there was some good stuff there. I didn't really care for his new, I guess, girlfriend, the love interest for Dalton. I didn't really care for her as a character, but overall I liked it. So that's my number 10. Number 9 is is The Boogeyman. This is one I didn't review it. If I actually no, I think I did review it. I forgot. This was one that just kind of came under the radar because I saw the trailer for it. And it just kind of hooked me when I saw what it was, and it was an interesting take on the Boogeyman. The main characters were pretty good. It's about this family. After their mother's death, their dad kind of moves them away to this house, and the creature latches onto their fear and basically tries to torment the family. And interesting design for the Boogeyman too, like that scene, which that I think that's what my thumbnail was like the creature under the bed a little. Like I thought that was a good fucking scene. Like there was some genuinely well placed scares. It was a nice slow burn, good atmosphere. Not necessarily. It's not isolated horror, but it has that little bit of feel because they're in like kind of like the middle of nowhere, kind of like they're not like just in the city, right? So there's a little bit of isolation, not flat out because there are other characters, but yeah, this is an overall really good one, and I think probably gonna watch this again because this was a nice little horror flick. I know there was another Boogeyman that came out like I think in like 2005, and I don't really remember that one, but this one might be my favorite Boogeyman related movie. I thought they went into the lore very well. It had a pretty good ending. Very much recommended if you want just like an interesting take on the Boogeyman legend. This one's pretty good. So that's my number 9. Number 8, Last Voyage of the Demeter. This is one I remember being really anticipated for because just the trailer wowed me. I like creature features, so I'm like, oh, it's Dracula on a boat fucking people up. And like I said, I have my gripes. I wish I did see this in the theater because there was some good, like the atmosphere on the boat alone was fucking beautiful. That was like I think that's like easily one of the biggest positives of the movie. It's just the atmosphere and the tone. I like the look of Dracula. Dracula is like a force of nature. The characters are a little whatever. I think the only tweak, like I said, I'm not a big fan of how it ended. I don't like that there was a survivor. I like the whole point of hence the title, The Last Voyage, because everybody dies. And I think that works so much better. I don't know if they were just scared to do that ending, if it was one of those, we had to have a survivor. And all it did was set up this guy to make it seem like he's going to be like this next bounty hunter or vampire hunter. It was so dumb. I didn't need that ending. I would have rather have Dracula killed everybody and then you just end it with him shapeshifting into human form and kind of going on. Or even jumped, kind of like what Dracula Untold did in Jump Time, where Dracula's in like the present doing something because he escaped the Demeter. Like, see, I needed it. You should have had an ending like that. I didn't need that other ending we got. But overall, it's still a great movie. Some pretty good kills. The atmosphere's there. Good period piece. And like I said, it's isolated horror. They're on a boat, in the middle of this. I think it's also really stormy too. So it works. So yeah, like I said, it's a good movie. I just have like a few issues. I also there's an issue with like the one chick who clearly knows what vampires are, but for some reason she acts like she doesn't know. So anyway. My number 7. Saw X, and this is coming from someone who, I'll be honest, I've only seen the first 3. I've never really seen any. I mean, I know what happens in the later ones because I've seen kill compilations of all of them. I just never sit down and watched all of them. I've seen like some of the spinoffs, like Jigsaw. I've seen, which was pretty shit. And then I saw Spiral, and then I saw Sonic. So I've seen some of the more recent. It's weird. I know. I'm actually gonna probably starting either in January or February. I'm gonna start reviewing the Saw films. I know there's a lot. That was one of the reasons I was a little hesitant to review it for a while, which is how long it would take. But fuck it, we can do it. Because I actually do want to review Saw X. The Saw X was really fucking good. It brought it back to its roots. Simple characters who did fucked up shit that Jigsaw kidnapped. It was cool that they brought Amanda back. Tobin Bell didn't even feel like he left the role. It was like one of those things where someone who hasn't done the role for a while, they come back and it's just like putting a glove. It just they're back and it just he still has that like that creepiness with him. And I love the atmosphere and it's just simple. They one because I think some of the later Saws just from what I've seen other reviewers and even just from what I could tell, even though I haven't seen all of them like all the way through, I've seen scenes from them they overcomplicated the plot and made it a little too convoluted. I like that this one just made it kind of kept it simple. My only, like I said, my only gripe with the movie, I have two. It would have been cool to see Billy like once, not Billy, the doll. I meant to say the doll. It would have been cool to see the puppet once, but I also my main gripe. They should not have made it set between 1 and 2. There was no reason they needed to do that. They should have just made this Saw 10 because it plays out like a new entry anyway. It doesn't feel like this is tied at all to Saw 1 or 2. It just doesn't. It makes no sense. Like if you watch this one, if the way it plays out like it they should have just called it Saw 10 because they called it that or just made it that. No, it's a set between 1 and 2. There was no reason they needed to do that because it doesn't even feel like it fits between those movies. It plays out like a flat out new film, and they should have done that because it's funny because now they're doing a Saw 11, so it's like they just it's but the positives though, which I'm mainly focusing on, is that yeah, it went back to its roots and the kills are pretty brutal, and yeah, it was a fun movie. I definitely would watch it again too because it kept it simple. They didn't over convolute the plot like unfortunately some of the later Saws did. I did like the first three. Especially the first one. I think the first Saw is the best one. I did like 2. 3 was more of just a kill fest, but to be fair, that was a while ago when I saw it. But yeah, for sure, Saw X was pretty good. I had to put on the list. So that's my number 7. Number 6 is The Pope's Exorcist. Honestly, this was a movie that I only saw because it was Russell Crowe and the trailer kind of wowed me. And it's about Father Gabriel. He's like an actual person and it kind of goes into some of the cases he's done. And the one thing that this movie did is that it was an interesting take on the Exorcist. Not Exorcist, but exorcism movies, I meant to say. It wasn't just your normal exorcism films, which unfortunately, a lot of the exorcism films just try to copy The Exorcist. Well, I did like the Exorcism of Emily Rose. I did like that movie. That actually played out like a different. It wasn't just an Exorcist ripoff, like some of them became. And funny enough, which is this one's gonna be on my worst list. Exorcist Believer came out the same year, and that was just besides obviously that shitty line, with the whole patriarchy thing. The fact that it just plays like a really bad generic Exorcist movie. It did basically what this movie didn't do. And you also had a compelling father with fucking Russell Crowe killed it, man. This is probably one of my favorite performances of his. I know it's not like up there with like Gladiator or even like Jarrell. I really liked him as Jarrell in Man of Steel, but I did really like him in this. He played it well. That opening sequence when he did the first exorcism was so fucking good. It was creepy. They got the kid who got to do the role actually felt creepy. It wasn't just shitty jump scares. But yeah, this one I had to put on the list. It just was really good. It stayed with me. Probably gonna watch it again soon here because it is a really good one. So I definitely recommend it, if especially if you just like Russell Crowe and just want to see him do a really good performance for a bit. This was one. This is one. So that's my number six. Now in the top five territory, my number five is Evil Dead Rise. And this is one I was really hyped for. I was actually because I really liked 2013. Evil Dead is the one. I guess besides like Chucky, I'm not counting the series. That isn't like all the movies have been really good. I don't think there's a bad entry in the bunch at all. There's not a bad Evil Dead movie. Like even the remake was really fucking good. Like I think, and this one was no different. You know, I like the apartment setting, this family. I was wondering how they were gonna make the whole apartment work, and I thought they did. This is about this family, and the aunt character is fucking awesome. She's not Mia, but she is really good, and you do kind of I think her name was Beth, and her and the little girl were great characters, and there are weirdos who are seeing at the time somewhat trying to call the movie woke. I'm like, no, I'm the first one who will call something woke when it actually is, but this was not it because they were trying to argue. 'Cause one of the outside cats, one of the I guess because the main daughter, the younger one, not the second younger one, was like a feminist, had a feminist thing on her. But like, yes, she's an SJW. I'll just say it flat out. But, couple things. This movie is set in LA, and I'm just gonna say it. A lot of women exist like that right now. That's just how it is. It's fucking LA. That's just how it is. I'm not saying all women, but a lot of girls up and coming, especially around that fucking age. Yeah, they're gonna be little wokies. That's just how it is. So that part's actually realistic. And two, she fucking dies. She's not even like the main character. It doesn't matter even. She ends up even getting killed. And they had a character who's trans, and they didn't even make that a big deal, especially considering the time we're in. And any other time Hollywood would be shoving that down her throat. This actual person just happened to be a character that just happened to be trans. And they didn't even mention it in the movie. And if anything, they're kind of the reason everything goes to shit because he read the book. And actually, I didn't even know because I didn't find out until someone said in the video when I watched someone review it. This movie is a good movie though. Like it had great horror tone, the callbacks to the original. The mom when she gets possessed is fucking creepy. Like even though you've seen some of the scares in the trailers, like when she's like just staring through the door hole is fucking creepy. The scene where the daughter, when she's possessed, starts eating, becomes a deadite, and starts eating the glass, and you see it fucking cut. That is a fucking. There's a lot of really fucked up visuals in this movie. A lot of blood too in this movie, and it's good. I love the final act where the daughter, Beth, and the daughter have to escape, and yeah, it's a great little movie. Like, and it is. I guess it's a little bit of isolated horror because they're kind of stuck in the apartment with no power. There are other characters you do see, but they kind of get killed early on. But it is a great movie. Like that opening scene even is really good. So I think Evil Dead Rise is a good one. It's probably in my ranking, it is probably the lowest. Still a good movie, but just compared to the other ones, it just doesn't compete. I think 2013 even is a bit better than this, but I do like this movie. So very much would watch it if I ever did like an Evil Dead marathon. Whatever I do an Evil Dead marathon, I'll watch this one. Even like the nice little detail you have it was Bruce Campbell who was doing the reading of the Necronomicon. I thought that was actually pretty cool. So at least you still had someone have a version of Bruce Campbell in this. So but anyway, that's my number 5. Number 4 is Meg. This is actually going to be probably also my favorite movie of the year. Like just in general, I really love this movie. I didn't think I would. I thought this was probably going to be kind of like either mid or just get the suck, but it was I love the little commentary talking to the whole AI, and Megan was creepy, genuinely, like the doll herself. And granted, I think they should have never did the whole release the PG-13 version, because there isn't the unrated version, which they should have just released. It wasn't even, the only difference is just a bit more blood, but it's not. And even then, I would almost argue Thanksgiving was way more of a violent horror movie than Megan was. Even the unrated cut, if we compared, like, I would still say because Thanksgiving, you saw people's like heads get chopped off, and the one dude got his head, which that's also gonna be on this list. Dude's head got bashed in. There was like way more graphic kills, and that's why I was like weird that they didn't do. But Megan was a great movie. I always say that this is what the Child's Play remake should have been. They should have just took their own, because I like the idea of a AI doll, makes sense, you know, and it could work. But they try to take the Chucky name, and they should have just did an original idea, and that's what they did with this, and it worked. And now it's about to have a sequel, and yeah, you know, decent characters. Yeah, the aunt is a little, like, she does start off a little bit annoying, but she does get better towards the end. And I actually love her asshole boss. Every time he's on, he's like one of my favorite parts of the movie. And yeah, the scenes where with Megan, like how protective she is, I love how they explain like certain things. They actually try to explain, and yeah, like the commentary that if you let these kind of technology, you'll eventually like, because that's what would happen if these dolls existed. Yeah, it potentially would take the spot of parents, and they actually address things like that in the movie. So it's not just like a dumb horror movie. It actually has something to say, but in a good way, not some like preachy way. And like I said, Megan is creepy. The way she moves, like there, you know, obviously the scene where she dances. That's like probably the most famous scene from this movie. But in general, that scene was creepy. The final act was cool. I mean, even her fighting a fucking, because the aunt made it like a robot before in college, and she has it fight Megan. That was a pretty fun little fight. Like it's a great little horror. And then the more I watch it, it just gets better. It's one of those I've watched a couple times this year, and yeah, it just gets better every time I watch it. So that's why I had to put it on the list as my number 4. It was a good one, and I'm happy that it's getting a sequel, and I'm open to it. Like it's shows like more shit like that. They should have just never did the Child's Play remake. There was no reason when you could have just did something like this, which kind of took the idea from that, and then it's just like, no, we're not going to take the Chucky name. We're actually going to try to make our own thing with it, and now it's about to get a sequel, and probably another one. Because to be honest, the idea of Megan, you kind of could do forever. Just do a different family, maybe even do a different read, because you have multiple Megans, obviously, if they make another one. Like, there's so many things you could do where you kind of continue it for a while. But anyway, my number 3 is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was one I was really hyped for when I saw the trailer. And this is actually based off of a Grindhouse fake trailer that they finally decided to make a movie. And what caught me about this one was I've wanted a legitimate Thanksgiving horror, because we've never really had one. Like, obviously Halloween has Halloween, and there's other ones too, like Trick or Treat, where Halloween has a bunch of horror movies that are iconic. Christmas, you know, Black Christmas, Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first one. Even like meme ones like Santa's Sleigh, but like Christmas has a couple. Like the big holidays, even like 4th of July has a movie called Uncle Sam. So like Thanksgiving, I didn't really feel like having, even saying another holiday, Valentine's Day. There's Valentine, My Bloody Valentine. There's a couple Valentine's horror ones. So it's, Thanksgiving just didn't really have a horror movie. I mean, there was Thanksgiving, but that's a meme movie, not a legitimate one. So it was nice to, when this came out, I was really wanting this one to be good, just to have a legitimate Thanksgiving movie, and now we do. And this one was great. Patrick Dempsey was great. I like the idea of that whole opening with the Black Friday thing where a couple people got killed. So the killer kind of started killing people who was involved in that. And the use of social media, and the way it was it was also a nice homage to 90s horror. And I think that's why I also really liked it was the simplicity of it. It was a simple '90s slasher. Like, so it kind of does piss me off too a little bit because this is the same studio that did Scream 5. And it's like, y'all couldn't just do this with Scream? Because this plays, like, this feels like this is easily the best Scream movie we've had since 4. Even though it's fucked up, it's not even a Scream movie, but it feels more like a Scream movie than the last two, honestly, Scream films have been. And it's like, I think it's just because, like I said, the simplicity, you have the characters you follow are decent enough. Patrick Dempsey was a good, we get the reveal that he was the villain. It's very good kills. Like, they don't hold back on the kills. They're very creative with the kills. Um, and the Carver. Now you have a potential new horror slasher with the Carver or John Carver, but I think the Carver works so much better as a nickname. So like as a name, so yeah, like and you can do another one. I don't think it should go past 2, but I think I'm okay with another one because yeah, it's just nice to have a legitimate Thanksgiving horror film now because I've been wanting one for a while. Like that's actually a legit one, not like a like there's a movie called Blood Rage, but a lot of people don't know about that, and it's all right, but it's not one a lot of people don't know about. And then you have another one called Home Sweet Home, which was absolute trash. So a bunch of meme movies, and then one that's kind of forgettable. And yeah, so it's nice to have like a legitimate, definitive Thanksgiving horror now. Or yeah, so this is probably gonna be one I watch every Thanksgiving. It's just it's a good movie. It's good pacing. Very, I'm gonna say again, very good kills. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Like I think, even if it's Christmas right now, this will. I mean, you could probably watch it right now, and it still has that feeling. Like so, yeah. There's like maybe one character where I was like a little off, and that's the scuba character. He feels like he should not be, and it could just be that actor. I'm not trying to be mean, but he feels like he should be in like a comedy, not a horror movie. Every time I felt like he was on screen, he feels like he's out of place compared to the other characters. But for the most part, I do like most of the characters. I think the main girl's good. She's a believable final girl. So yeah. Even the detail, like I love how smart they made the killer. Like that opening, that opening kill where he put the girl's hand in like the fridge in her face, so because when she would pull it off, her skin gonna get pulled off. So her fingerprints got pulled off. So when she tried to like call and use the phone, she can't because her phone's it's all covered in blood. Her hands are covered in blood, and she doesn't have any like fingerprints. So it's like I just like that little detail. Like, they made the killer really intelligent. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. I think, especially if you love horror. You might find a little bit of issues with it, but relatively, it's a pretty good film. Number 2 is this is actually gonna be my surprise hit of the year, breakout hit of the year too. Talk to me. The fact that this movie was made by a Rucka Rucka, who's a YouTube channel, and they made this almost I'm gonna say iconic. I like the scene where she starts using the hand and she just sees the demons and what they caused. The main actress pulled it off. A great core group of characters. Same thing, very simple premise. Very likable characters. When they really go into the horror, it's creepy. Like it's very creepy. Like it isn't just like jump scare galore, and it just shows you like this is why I love the genre, is just because you can find little gems like this. Because to be honest, I when I saw the trailer for it, because I did see the trailer at the time before it came out, and I just thought this was it looked kind of woke. I'll say it because to be honest, the way the main girl looked, and it just looked shit in general. It looked, I was like, this. But then the more I heard about it, that's actually what got me to want to watch it. Was how much everyone's saying this is fucking good. Like it was very strong word of mouth, which I'm gonna talk about this more when I get into my worst of the year list, but I can talk about it a little bit. Is word of mouth is such a strong thing. That's what got me to watch this because I kind of scoffed at it. I kind of scoffed at it when I first saw the trailer. I was like, didn't really get me. And then yeah, everyone's like, yo, this is good. Talk to Me is great, great movie. And then the more people who I know actually talked about it and said it's good, got me to go see it. And yeah, it is a fucking experience. That party scene is even the opening scene, like when the dude stabs his brother, or no, he stabs himself, and yeah, like pretty violent. Like the couple, like it's not a gory movie. Like Thanksgiving is probably more gory in that sense, but there is moments, and yeah, very tense, good storytelling. I'm gonna give the second one a chance. It has to be the same fucking people though. No, getting a different director. No, it needs to be the same people. And I think all my fear is if they do a sequel, sometimes a studio gets caught up in it did well, so we gotta fucking micromanage, and I fear that's what will happen. Horror for the most part, it doesn't seem like that happens a lot, so I'm kind of hoping because of that, I shouldn't have to worry about that. And if it's the same people, then yeah, I'm willing to give it a chance because I mean, the same people made Extraction 2, and that's fucking amazing. So I think if it's the same people, it has the potential to be all right. Part of me thinks it just works better as a one-off little horror story. You know, I just don't think everything needs a sequel. But if it's the same people, I'm willing to give it a chance. Because to be honest, this was great. I didn't. Who knows? Because I thought this wasn't going to be great, and then fucking this is my second favorite horror movie of the year. I've seen some people put this as a number one of horror of the year. And I don't blame them. To be honest, this was a really good fucking one, but it's just for me one eclipses it a little bit, and that is Nefarious with Sean Patrick Flanery. I think the big thing with it is the fact that it's just a discussion. It's not like one of those movies where it relies on jump scares. There are scares in the movie, but it's not that. It's more of a mental movie, and I think that's why I really liked it. It was an interesting. What actually got me to watch it was Sean Patrick Flanery. I like him as an actor, and I like the trailer when I saw it, and yeah, that caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, that's the dude from Boondock Saints. I'll go see it, and yeah, it was fucking great. Is a trip, kind of like Talk to Me in that sense of very much a trip. Don't go in. Yeah, some people might call it boring because yeah, it's not a normal horror movie. It is pretty much just a discussion between the guy who has to who Nefarious, who the demon's actually in the suit, basically has to deem him if he's worthy to die or not. And basically they talk about philosophy and religion and all this stuff because the guy who's interviewing him is an atheist. It's a lot of religious stuff. And it's not like preachy. There's some people who I've seen try to argue it is that, and like it's not. And I think it's just straight up a good horror movie. Maybe I think if we're going like traditional horror, I guess maybe Talk to Me probably edges it out a little bit. But I think this movie just the performances and just very much that Sean Patrick Flanery killed it. That might be my favorite performance in a film this year. Just like if you're going like strictly acting performance. He was really fucking good in this movie. The ending's really good. It's really sad too. But it's also a little positive, obviously, with what happened with the main character. And yeah, it's very little extra characters. Like there's characters you see throughout the film, but it is mainly that guy and Sean Patrick Flanery are Nefarious. Yeah, it is a great movie. I very much promote it. especially if you love Sean Patrick Flanery, just in general as an actor, you'll love the movie. Don't go in expecting it's not as it's obviously not gonna be a kill fest. There's really not a lot of kills in the movie. It's more of a mind trip kind of movie, but it's in a good way. And yeah, the plot's good. Yeah, there's little things obviously this is an independent movie, so some of the shots aren't the greatest, and obviously it's not gonna look like a Hollywood movie, but I think it's still very good. And yeah, that's all I can really say. So my favorite horror movie this year, and just had fun watching it. I watched it a couple months ago, and it's still so good. So, but yeah, guys. Tomorrow we're gonna be talking about X-Men Apocalypse, which just that was such a bad movie looking back. I liked it at the time because I was a bit more I don't know why. I just didn't hate it, but the more I've grown to not like it. I don't hate it it's not as bad as X3 and even Days in Dark Phoenix. I think it's has some good parts. I do really like the scene where Wolverine breaks out. It made me that was the scene where he because this is you go back in the past, so this is Weapon X Wolverine. This would have been so you get to see him break out. I think Jean helps him break out, and then he kind of just fucks a bunch of people up, and it made me oh, I want an R-rated version of this. So it was that was cool, but I think as a movie, it just wasn't good. Apocalypse looked terrible. I don't know why this is one of those cases they should have won with CGI. Like Thanos and Darkseid, they are CGI characters. You can't really, the way they look and the size, you cannot do it practical. They'll look kind of terrible. And that's all we got with Apocalypse. He can even look like Apocalypse. There's a reason. I have my problems with Thanos in the later, or mainly in Endgame. But Thanos looked his best in that movie. If you're going just purely looks, he looked like Thanos from the comics. He was in the armor. He had the gauntlet. That is Thanos. Because they were smart and was okay, we got to make him CGI. Same with Darkseid in the Snyder Cut. The little bit we saw of him. That is Darkseid visually. So it makes no sense that this was 2016. Darkseid didn't happen yet, but fucking you did have Thanos. Thanos was shown in Guardians 1, and that was 2014, and that was 2 years before. So you're telling me, in 2016, they couldn't make Apocalypse look good? And it sucks, because Oscar Isaac's actually a pretty good choice to play it in terms of a voice, and then you just squandered it. So we'll go into that. I did like the look of Professor X in the movie. They made him look more kind of comic accurate when he shaved his head. So I do like that stuff. Magneto's always good, but yeah, so I'll talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, guys, there's been some really good horror this year. I like doing sometimes these best movies of the year lists. So there's some in there that if some people haven't seen, I want to promote. Talk to Me was really good, and I want more people to watch that. Same with Nefarious. Those are my top two are ones I want everybody to fucking watch those. Because they're some of the best, especially if you're a horror fan. I think there's some those are some of the best. And yeah, even some of the ones I said that are a little bit lower on the list, I just think they're also really good. And I just think horror has been really in a good place lately. These, at least between last year and this year, there's been some really strong, X from last year was a nice throwback to slasher. Then this year we get fucking Thanksgiving, So it's not, and I'm happy that my list also is not just all. That's y'all know I very much prefer slashers, but I do like that all my movies in my list aren't all slashers. To be fair, there wasn't a lot of slashers this year, but I guess Evil Dead's kind of a slasher. It's been seen. But yeah, Thanksgiving was one. But yeah, I also had different, my number one isn't a slasher. Talk to Me isn't a slasher. It's more of I guess you want to call it kind of possession. So I had different genres. So that was fun. So very much, I like doing these lists. Kind of can't wait for Friday because this weird culture we're in now, you have weirdos crying about people making worst movies of the year list because, oh, people work hard. I'm I'm just gonna give some hints on what it's gonna be on my list. The Flash people totally worked hard on that fucking piece of shit. Or fucking Expendables 4 or fucking Indy 5. Yeah, people worked hard on all those movies. Get out of here. So I'm gonna be doing that on Friday. So yeah, but anyways, guys, I'm kind of rambling here. I'm gonna call it.